Killing me inside, no fuiste tú y no fui yo. Memorias que alegran y hieren a la misma vez. Y yo seguiré bailando como tú lo hubieras hecho. Y tú, dueña de mi corazón, la que me hace el pecho. No, I can't live without your love. No, I can't live without your love.
We wanted to pay homage to the legacy of Cuba. Some of the other places I've been that the African diaspora is a part of the culture, but they don't acknowledge it. Over in Cuba, one of the first things they said was we went to these places and we discovered, we learned about the Yoruba and the whole African spiritual heritage and how important that was to the development of the music, and that was their sound. That's what the DNA was.
Good evening, everybody. We the people. We've got a special edition this evening. It's a Cine Latino and Casa at Cine Latino at home. It runs till from October 15th to the 22nd. So this is kind of a new edition of the program. So I'm very excited about this show. Today is also Cuban Day. So we have a couple other films besides the film that hopefully you got to watch. We got Defiant Souls, which is a film about slavery in Cuba. Also Viva la I always screw this one up. Vidota. It's a province in Cuba next to Havana. And I would like you to see that one. We're going to talk tonight about a film called Two Beats, One Soul. I want also to understand that this is Cine Latino is it's a new unique films from Spain and Portugal, from around the world. It's basically is something that the Minnesota Film Society has been doing since 1962. We are also, if you want to see some other films, make sure you go to mspfilm.org, spread the word. Also, I would like for you to understand that this film is eligible for an Audience Choice Award. So please, your ballots are connected to your tickets. Please vote. I know that this is a time that we're in right now and it's very concerned. I would like for you all, from myself and from the Film Society, to please support the arts organizations in your neighborhood as you go out there and try to support them and try to entertain yourself, but please support them. Also, if there's questions that you have, there is a Q&A button at the bottom. Please use that to ask specific questions if you would like, and I can direct them to the panelists as we go through this. This evening, we have some people here. Actually, some of these people are some of the oldest friends I have on this planet, Earth, are involved in this. And so I'm really excited about this. And I want to introduce them. Vivian Chu, who is the producer for this film. Billy Woodruff, who is the director. Antonio Martinez, which is a co-executive producer. Thank you for joining us, Antonio. I know you're in Berlin, so this is the middle of the night for you, so hopefully you're awake. John B., which is a musician, and I know you because Vivian used to talk about you all the time. And Louie Vega, the same situation, and also a musician, and also you do a podcast also on a regular basis, and we can talk about that as we get into this, so you can promote your own program. One of the things about Cuba, I mean, Cuba is this kind of, it's not a mystery to Americans, but it is. It's not, very few of us have ever seen it. Very few of us have ever gone there. A lot of us talk about it. A lot of us want to go there. I think that we see Cuba as sort of an offshoot of America. we see the music as part of what it is that has been sort of indoctrinated into us as long as we can remember, going all the way back into the 20s and 30s and 40s and 50s and 60s. We've heard the sounds of it. Gonna start this out really talking to Vivian, because Vivian and I've known each other for a long time. She was always sort of tapped into the Caribbean, into the islands, Jamaica and the music in Puerto Rico, and she was really into that. And this makes perfect sense to me that there would be another island she had to go to find some talent. So I want to talk about this, Vivian. What was it that really made you want to feel you wanted to go there and to try to create this project?
If you see the movie, the way it's depicted in the movie is exactly how it happened. Ray and I were talking about, we should do a project together. And like 2 o'clock in the morning, I came to him in his studio and said, you know what, we should do it in Cuba. Now, I had been to Cuba in 1999. Ray had never been there. I was just intrigued to get back to the island. I thought that it was going to be completely different because we're talking, big span in time between when I was there. And when we got there, everything was exactly the same as had I left it and how I had imagined its beauty. And the people of Cuba is really what won me over personally. Their hearts are so big and just so flowing with love. And it's almost like in Jamaica. In Jamaica, when I walked through the streets, you could see the rhythm of the people moving. The music was just part of their DNA. And it's the same exact thing in Cuba. So little did I know that just doing something in Cuba wasn't, let's just go do something in Cuba, until I met this lovely man, Antonio Martinez, who has a company based in Cuba and also in Berlin called Indirecto. And we met and he said, yeah, that's great, you want to do that, but that whole long ass list that made me go, what was I thinking? So had there not been an Antonio and his team, and as you know, as Americans, we can't spend $1 in Cuba. So how are we gonna pay for this? That was the first thing. And then in stepped Antonio and his magic.
Antonio, your company, do they do productions primarily there, or is it part of a larger entertainment industry that you have established there?
No, it's really not. It's a small company, but I'm focused on Cuban music and Spanish speaking, but at least more than 20 years Cuban music. So, and 5 years now, I have an office there, a permanent office in Havana, as the only international company to have it in this case of cultural management and production officially allowed. So it's a quite of unique position. So, but it's so many talent there, and you have to be there permanently to really get in contact. You only can't pass by and go away and try to cover or discover nearly everything. So it's impossible if you don't have a permanent resident office there. So this is why we set up there.
So what was it about Cuban music that was so unique to you that you wanted to establish this entity there?
Well, I started with, I've Spanish family, so I started promoting Spanish music in Berlin, Germany, where I'm based and grown up. So, but then I started in the 90s also with Cuban music. And at the end of the year, 99% of my shows were Cuban music and not the Spanish one, because everybody wanted to listen more to the Cuban than to the Spanish stuff. So at the end, I switched to the Cuban island, and I'm still there. So that's all with this. When I was the social club, I was touring with them and stuff like that. So it was not a decision, it just happened. And so I'm still there discovering every day and every year new stuff.
So one thing about your film, for those who've not seen it, and I suggest everybody see it and vote for it, is, Vivian, you guys in Bille, you guys sort of created what I call sort of the origin story, which is not really normal what you see in documentaries. So it's, you kind of go back to the fact that you only got like 6 weeks to do this. And can you talk about the importance of that and kind of sort of created a certain urgency and an immediacy to making the film? Can you talk about that, either one of you? Or jump in?
Well, the urgency, yeah, you can go ahead, Vivian.
No, but correction. It wasn't 6 weeks. We did that in 2 weeks.
Oh, 2
That's
weeks.
what
All right, sorry. Okay, so it's a real origin story. It's a superhero story.
And then I called my friend Bille, and it's like, so I have this vision, and we got to do it in 2 weeks, and we're going to bring some American musicians down to Cuba, and that's all I know. But I need you to do it. And his answer was, of course. So Bille, I hand it off to you.
Yeah, well, yeah. As you mentioned, Craig, you know, we all go way back, and I knew Vivian from when I first got started in the business. And she gave me, when I started my own, I used to be at BET, but I started this company of my own where I was doing EPKs. And she was the ambassador for dance hall music coming to the States. And, you know, I didn't really know exactly what dance hall was. I knew Shabba Ranks, but not totally. And she's like, look, you're going down to Jamaica, to Kingston. You're going to shoot the Shabba Ranks. And anyway, I went, and there was this whole explosion of this whole thing, and it was amazing. And I loved it. And I did this EPK for her, you know, for her new artist. But she's always been a person that is really, really into culture and things around the world and travel and bringing people together through music and exploring it. And so when she called me about this, and I have a love of Cuba already, of course I said yes, because I knew it would be a fantastic voyage, you know, with Vivian. I didn't know how hard and fast we were going to have to hit it, you know, but I was up for the challenge. And it was magical. Cuba's a magical place, just as she said. I'd been there several times before, which Vivian knew. And I think that's one of the other reasons that she reached out to me, because she knew through different things I had posted, you know, from my travels there, that I had a love of the place. And, you know, I first started falling in love with the culture there when I directed several videos for Gloria Estefan. And I just, you know, I love the culture. I love the people, and being able to go there and just, you know, experience it and see it. And, you know, this is an opportunity to share the love that we have for this place, you know, with the rest of the world, because everyone isn't able to always go and enjoy it the way that, you know, we have. So yeah, I came on board. We went down there. Antonio helped us make it happen and get all kinds of impossible things done. And really happy, you know, with the results and with the artists that came down with us, and, you know, interacted with the Cuban artists there. It was a great experience.
Yeah, so I want to talk to Joe or Louie. You know, one of the things about, you know, taking him, what is the difference? And you guys probably have a better handle on this. There's a difference between Cuban music and Black music in America. And, you know, even though it comes from the same diaspora process and stuff like that, you guys had to come to terms with that. How did you guys adjust to it? How did you do that?
John, you want to go first?
Oh, well,
Yeah.
I really when I heard about this opportunity, first of all, when Viv called me, I was just like, okay, what time do I have to be there? You know, let me know, let me get my things together, and we on that plane. So yeah, no, I was absolutely amazed once I got there. It was kind of like stepping into the Romancing the Stone movie. You know, for me, it was just like, I mean, how can I not be inspired here in this place with this, you know, this, from the, you know, the texture of the air to the way that the buildings look, and the texture of the streets, and the people, the smiling faces, the food that we ate. I mean, it all inspired the music that we made, and let alone the instrumentalists out there, and the singers, and I mean, the MCs. I mean, every walk of life in terms of musician, we had it there. And we had horn players, we had guitar players, percussionists, drummers. So I was a kid in the candy store, really. We all spoke the musical language. I think music is just really, it supersedes all the sort of the cultural lines that we all have drawn, you know, through our music evolving the way that it has in so many different ways. But I think, you know, when you get back to just the raw rhythms and melodies and chords and just what we all enjoy in music, I think that's really the whole essence of what Two Beats and One Soul really is about. Really, I think it's getting to see what we can do with the music, even though we don't speak the same language per se. You know what I mean? Or very limited at that.
Yeah. But I think you guys, I mean, it seemed like you really started to talk. I mean, I think music does become this sort of levels the field, you know. But Louie, maybe you can help with this. What is the difference? There's a definite sound difference in the music that comes from Cuba that's indigenous to that country and the music that's here from a structural standpoint? Do you have an idea about what that is?
Well, I think it's rhythm. You know, the rhythm is really amazing. The percussion, you know, just hearing them play percussion and chant is magical, you know. And I think definitely there's this special soul that comes from the music of Cuba. I already had been working with a Cuban musician for 8 years when Vivian had called me. One of my collaborators, Axel Tosca, he's a keyboardist, pianist, and you know, I started learning a lot through him over the 8 years that we were working together. So when he found out that we were going to go to Cuba, and I said, "You're coming with us, man. We're going out there." He was so happy, and he introduced me to his friends. It was just like a family, you know what I mean? It was really a lot of love. And when we went out there, out into the studio, I mean, you know, and just hanging out outside. I mean, we even played music out there, DJ'd everything. We did anything we could do because we were going to only be there for a short time. So he's okay, we're going to DJ, let's DJ. We're going to make a record, let's make a record. I mean, you know, Vivian called me and said, "Louie, you know, I want, you know, you to be a part of this project, this idea that I have, and I want you to see if you can bring Anane as well and Josh Milan, who are two artists that I worked with for many years, and they're part of the Elements of Life band as well." So we kind of went with an idea, and we said, you know, what could we do? Well, let's write a really inspirational song, and you know, Josh Milan, he's like our super lyricist, songwriter, musician, amazing. And I said, "Josh, man, we got to write something beautiful. Let's just bring everybody together." And that's when the song "The World Is a Family" came together. And so we went out there with a song and just a rhythm track, because I think the way I wanted to approach it was the combination of their rhythms and what we do. And I think that would create this new thing, or this new element, you know. So Anane, who comes from the islands of Cabo Verde, we wrote a song. Josh actually wrote a song called "Music and Life." That was, you know, the title of the song. And they were truly two inspirational songs that we felt could represent what we wanted to represent in this collaboration. But when we went to the studio, it was really a family. The World Is a Family come to life, because there were all kinds of musicians. It was like, you know, oh, I hear a poet in this section, let's call Talmari. Like, everybody knew like who to call and when, and they would be there within the hour to, you know, just let out, you know, their souls. It was beautiful, you know. So to me, that's it was very different than the way it happens over here. Very different, because everybody was so giving, you know.
Yeah.
It didn't matter. It was about giving, and you know, to me, that truly represented you know, the people of Cuba. Everybody we met out there was just love.
Yeah, there's something that I felt in the film, and Vivian, you could talk about this, and you know, even Antonio, there's this openness between the musicians and the people in the country. I mean, again, since Vivian and I worked in the record industry for a long time, so you know, traditionally American musicians are not as open and as generous as you've seen them in this film. I really love that. I love that feeling. There was just like people were doing this creatively. Did you feel this difference there when you were there?
Well, I'll speak on that. You know, we recorded at this beautiful studio called Abdullah, and it had a huge waiting room before it went into the individual studios. And John, Louie, Bille, right, every single day there would just be musicians that had heard that we were making this project, and they just came and they just sat. And Louie and every producer on the project would go out and go, "Hey, who sings? You sing? Come on. Hey, you play piano? Come on, we need you to do a solo." I mean, it really was an amazing collaboration like that. And then Louie also produced a song that was really critical and important to the project. Ray and I just really wanted to make sure that the essence of Cuba was represented. And there's a song called Canto de Cuba. I'm sorry, I know I just wrecked how that should have been pronounced, but it was close, right? And Louie, we brought in a chanter, a Yoruba chanting group, actually. And when we performed it at the North Sea Jazz Festival, whoo, rewind. When we performed it at the Havana Jazz Festival, that's how the concert opened. It was an homage. It was our thank you to the island of Cuba of letting us come, letting us embrace their culture, their music, their people. And that's probably one of the most special songs that are on the record. And that's how you see how we opened up the Jazz Festival.
I mean, one of the things that I love the fact that I've seen a lot of documentaries about music and making music. And one of the things that I felt was really genuine, and this may be Bille too, but is that the recording process. I mean, this is how a recording process actually works. You know, in most films, they skip over the real songwriting, the real creative process, the collaboration, the give and take. And that this is the one thing in the film that I really, really liked. And I don't know if this is something that you were planning on doing when you started this, or something that Bille, did you come up with this as you were making the film?
We came up with it as we were making it, because we were inspired by everything that was around us, and it's a true documentary. You know, we knew certain things that we wanted to, you know, try to reflect, you know, what's there, but we were really exploring what the experience was, you know, so it was a discovery, you know, as we were making it.
Great. From the musical standpoint for you, John or Louie, was there really any difficulties in sort of, I know you guys have had some experience with Latin music, obviously, but the Cuban music, was there any difference in sort of trying to come to terms with what they were trying to get to and what you were trying to get to? John?
Yeah, oh yeah, well, I would say, no, you know what, it's like, if you can hear it, then that's the language, you know? So yeah, I mean, other than just not being able to like say, hey man, do it like this, literally, I'll say, hey man, do it like this. And he'd be, okay, cool, you know, but he wouldn't speak back and say something back. It would be more like, if he did speak Spanish, I just, or, you know, have whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like, that doesn't hold us back from having that musical harmony. And also, I think it's inspiring when you have something that's so out of your element come into your element and meet you halfway. It almost pulls the very, very best like out of you. And I feel like the people that I had the pleasure of working with, when it comes to even just the way that the rhythm was made, and I watched the drums go down, and I was part of the track, and bringing up the sort of the nylon guitar sound that was very Havana. It just made me think of Havana. That was the texture that I felt when I had that guitar sound under my fingers. I just immediately I thought of the name Havana Moon, and that's a song that we did on the project. And I really felt like it was a very romantic song. It was sort of a different, you know, like a different side of it in terms of like the walk on the beach or the walk on those cobblestone roads. We were having these really sexy dinners too. Vivian, you did. She has a way of just picking the right place with the right ambiance, the right atmosphere, and you just go there. And we ended up spending hours there, just really marinating in the energy that Havana brings, and that it is, and just the privilege that it is as Americans to be there. You know, it was like they said, like everyone has said, it was limited amount of time, so we wanted to really just relish in every moment. But I can say the moments spent in the studio were kind of surreal for me. The studio was so big in its size in terms of like everything, that it was almost being like in an old Sinatra movie or something like that. I felt like, you know, what that must have felt like for him. See those old jazz records with the big giant microphone and the big boom stand, and there's enough room in there to record an orchestra. And I believe that they did actually have an orchestra in there on a lot of songs. I watched the actual orchestra go down, mini horn section, you know, giant horn section, the percussion. It just was such a different level. Ray, you know, spared no, you know, expense, and as well as, you know, just the sophistication of what we were doing. It was like we were scoring a movie, but we were making records. And I haven't done that yet in my career. This was something very, very special to always remember, never forget that,
Antonio, did you select the studios and gather the musicians, or was that a joint effort between all of y'all?
Well, there was obviously a screening, a pre-tour, and visiting studios and speaking to producers and possible. But I think the main, what makes really the project different is that there wasn't really a script. So everybody came in and just brought an idea, brought a feeling, and was open to listen and was open to show and what you think. And so I think this is what it really made special. And when Cuba has something special or about is that they are very open to get new input. Because first, it's an island. It's isolated in all senses. So there are not so many people coming up and showing into a project like this. At least it was the biggest project of a private company doing recordings with Cuban musicians in the last 10 years. So this project. So this is quite something unique. So they are curious, open to hear and to listen. And I think everybody brought this in. This curiosity, this interest in what do you want? How can we speak together? How can we find a common way? So it was quite natural, because if it shows up like it did, that well, some strings would be good. Okay, you have a possibility there in 1 hour to get a perfect chamber orchestra and really good strings from the National Symphony Orchestra. So this is possible. And so if you have ideas and if you are creative, that's a perfect place to realize this creation and to make it happen. And everybody was on this track. So I think that's really the special thing. And this is also what happens then in the film. It's not scripted. It's just happened. It was a document. It's a documentary of what it really was, the process. What it was really, this coming together, this learning one from another, and be open and kind and really. Joining. This was the spirit of the whole project. This was really what was happening.
Does this take place in? Go ahead, Susan.
Can I add to that? I think that there was one person in this entire team who really had this whole thing scripted out in their head, and that was my husband. That was Ray.
Yeah,
it's true.
Ray had 2 weeks to record a record, and Louie was the only person that came from the US that spoke Spanish. Our other co-executive producer, her name is Kathy Greer. She also spoke fluent Spanish. So we brought an interpreter. So Ray utilized everybody to get his desires across. And I would see him, he would leave the studio midnight, 1 o'clock, come back to the room, and then start working on what was going to happen the next day. He walked into Louie's session. He's like, man, I hear strings on that song. He's there and he's writing the strings. And then we had our transcriber put it all. And I wake up in the morning and there's like printing sheet music of the song. I mean, he really, but that's what he does. Mm-hmm. And he does it so uniquely and he does it so well. But outside of that, what Antonio said, absolutely, we just went.
Yeah. Was it one trip or was there several trips in the process of making it?
Yeah, there were several trips. Ray and I first went on like a fact-finding mission, and Bille as well. Bille and his team went with us because they needed to really, just for their whole cinematography. I mean, Cuba is the perfect place to capture just natural beauty. So we left Havana. We went to Guanice, we went to Matanzas, we traveled the island, we went to the Yoruba Museum so we could understand how religion played into the culture and how the music. Who knew that all those years where we're watching I Love Lucy and Ricky Ricardo is summoning up the spirit of Babalu? Yeah. I just thought it was some stuff he made up, not knowing that Babalu. Exactly. Mm-hmm. So, but we learned right? That was crazy that day.
Yeah. Right. Ricky was tapped in, right? That was multicultural.
And we didn't even know it.
Yeah.
But so it was several trips, between Ray and I did 6, Ray did 5, and Billy did, we all, the way that we had Louie and John and Eric B and all the other US artists come down is that You all know me. I had a very tight run of show
Mhm.
with a whip. And, you know, but then it was issues of flights and visas and hotel. You know, one of our trips while we were there, Antonio walks in with the newspaper and says, sorry, but guess what? You're never going to be able to stay in this hotel again because our current government mentioned that we were no longer going to be allowed to stay in hotels that were half military owned. When we, you know, we had visa issues, we had hurricanes, we had blackouts, and, you know, I mean, it was just, and then you'll see it all in the film, but every single mountain, I'm that girl that when I see a mountain, I'm going to go over it, under it, around it. More than likely, I'm going to bulldoze through it. And so everybody here bulldozed through whatever that individual mountain was. You know, Billy needing certain equipment, and they're going, well, we don't have it here on the island. And he's like, okay, plan B, what are we going to do? You know, anybody got some spit and dirt? We're going to put that together. Yeah. And he did. And he did. Louie, when Louie was producing his songs, and like, you know, in the middle of the song, he'd be like, you know what? I hear a rapper on this. Let me call, you know, somebody. And they, Talamare, who's a spoken word artist, came and blessed us on the project. And then of course, John, you know, one of the reasons why I've always loved John, I've known him since he was damn near a baby, since he was 18, was his songwriting expertise. And just watching him sit blank slate. Ray came with a track, and just seeing him color in the lines. Yeah. It was a beautiful thing to see.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying about this film, and what is the uniqueness of it is that is really the creative process on every step of the way. From, again, and not, you know, usually, you know, they do films, docs are, the music's done, and it's kind of, you just basically playing, and then you do a bunch of cuts, and then you basically go to the next song. This was actually the process of making music, you know, and recording it. One of the things that I really thought also, you know, Billy, that you did as from a cinematographic standpoint, was you really tried to capture the visual energy of Cuba. I mean, because with the dancing and the kids playing the drums, and I mean, again, that has nothing to do with the basic movie, except that it has everything to do with Cuba, which is part of what the movie's about, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like Vivian and Louie and John have said. I mean, when you're there, it's everywhere. Music is everywhere. It's in the streets. It's everywhere you go. And the people, they move with it. It's like, it is the beat of the country, the soul of it. And you feel it. It's infectious. You know, it makes you feel a certain way, which is why I think I've been so drawn to it, because, you know, living in the US, and especially, I'd love to go there right now, can't, but it's a nice way to recharge and reset yourself. You know, there's a childlike wonder to Cuba, you know, an innocence that people are enjoying life, and a lot of the people don't have a lot of the material things that we covet so much, and to see that they're still happy and that they're still giving to one another, and that the way that they express themselves and the way that they will give everything that they have to you, you know, when they've just met you, you know, they welcome you into their homes. They're giving, the way that, you know, Vivian talked about the artists hanging out. They heard that we were there, and they're like, hey, I'm here, I'll do it. It's just that kind of a energy. And I definitely wanted to capture that. You know, our cinematographer had never been there before. He was like amazed and in love with it. You know, we just really did want to try to drive home, while we were telling the story of making this album, making sure that you could feel what it's like to be in Cuba. So I'm glad that that came across to you.
For you guys, and anybody can answer this, it really is like, what did you guys, each of you, take away from Cuba? I mean, almost from a visceral level. What did you take away from this experience? First of all, it is Cuba. Second of all, you tried to make a movie in 2 weeks, which is like insane, you know, but you did it. So what did you take away from that experience?
I'll speak first. For me, my takeaway was make life a little simpler. You know, just slow down, put your phone down. Here was a wonderful thing. My phone didn't work. So I was forced to sit and have 3 and 4 hour meals filled with conversation with people who didn't speak the same language as me, but we were able to communicate because there were no distractions. You know, so for me, it was just enjoying the simplicity of just living your life. That was my takeaway.
John B.
I will say, for me, I can't get Cuba out of my head. Havana is just like the most romantic, most the way the desolate buildings looked, everything was so like picturesque. Anywhere that you took a picture, it was like the perfect backdrop behind you. It didn't matter if it was rough and, you know, looked like it was about to fall down. It looked beautiful in that sense. It looked, there was some of the most beautiful alleyways I've ever seen in my life. But, you know, it was to, you know, to some might have looked at that and been like, well, what, you know, where is that? You know, and I could just tell you, there is no place I've seen in the world where it looks like that aesthetically. So to take all of that, you know, back home with me, it's just kind of like, I just go there now when I want to write and I want to go somewhere romantic in my mind. I can easily just picture those streets, walking in those streets, you know, Havana streets, and at nighttime, you know, and picturing those buildings and the cobblestone roads and the people walking around, and, you know, like lovers holding hands, you know, in the moonlight. You know, that's the kind of things that that I try to think about when I'm writing a song or something like that, you know. So yeah, man, I'll never forget about Havana, you know.
Louie, what about you?
I would say the unity, you know what I mean? It was just how everybody came together. You know, I'll never forget one of the big DJs there who introduced house music to the island met me over in New York. And when I was out there, he actually helped us to put the event together with Vivian and everything that we did outside when I DJ'd, and Anane DJ'd as well, and Josh. You know, he did a little get together with all the big DJs on the island. You know, whether they were hip hop or Latin or house or techno, they all came together, and you know, they were just so excited to meet and just talk about music. You know, so everybody just came together no matter where it was. When we did the session in the studio, you know, I actually finished the 2 songs that we were supposed to do. We finished them early, so we were like, well, let's just keep creating, let's keep making more. And, you know, went on the piano with Josh Milan, and we came up with this track, but with the musicians just coming in, el timbalero, el conguero, you know, and then Xiomara Laugart, the legend, you know, who was there. I said, oh, please, you can come up with a hook on this. And she just came up with one on the spot. It was amazing how, you know, of course, Ray Chu, you know, he was the ringleader in all this, you know what I'm saying? It was beautiful to see him at work, and how, you know, if we needed a string arrangement, anything, he would just boom, like he was just such a pro, you know? So it was all of us together. And I noticed that all the musicians, they knew each other like for years, you know what I mean? They've been doing this so many years since they were little, you know, playing their instrument, and that's the way I want to work. And that's the way we work when we're here in the studio, but that's the way I want to work anywhere I work around the world. And that's the way I want it to be, you know, where everybody is unified as one, and we all made it happen. It was beautiful.
That's
you know?
great.
So I think about that when I think about
yeah. Bille, what about you?
I think that for me, I mean, it's similar to what Vivian said. I mean, I as I said, I've been there many times, and I always leave, particularly this last trip that we did, because I'd never been there working, you know, before. So it's the actual, you know, stress of doing a shoot. There's always some stress there. And working in that environment, I took away a feeling of being grateful, you know, for being able to be an artist that gets to create, and just, you know, being grateful for simple things that you don't always appreciate sometimes when you're caught up in just, you know, the rat race of doing what we do and trying to get to the next project or whatever it is, of just slowing down and actually being grateful and enjoying, you know, what it is that you're really doing, and savoring the life that's right there, you know, at that moment. And as Vivian mentioned, you know, you can't use your cell phone. Most of the places, we were in the one hotel at one point, which was a huge extravagance. It had Wi-Fi, which is very rare. But outside of that, you usually, you know, don't have access to Wi-Fi. And so it's, you know, you're rebooted to a different way of just, you know, experiencing what you're really doing. You're not taken away, you know, from the moment and from the beauty around you, like John was saying, like everywhere you look, I mean, for me, it is as a director and cinematographer's dream, because everywhere you look, there's something beautiful. And the light is beautiful. You know, the light is beautiful there. It's just an incredibly magical place. And I just took away like some magic and the feeling of trying to remember to stay, you know, more grateful about each moment that I get to be alive and do the things that I love to do, honestly.
Anton, for you, this is, I mean, you are in Cuba, but the fact that you were bringing this circus now to the island and doing all, what did you take away from this? It had to obviously affect you, because now you've seen this, like you said, this is a different experience for you.
Well, I think one of the things that I was always very impressed in Cuba, and I think it helped to this project and to other possible projects in future, is that not only the artist, the whole society has a really big respect and consideration of artists and of art and of creation. For them, it's a really important thing for the whole society, for the people. And it's not an intellectual thing, it's just a feeling thing. So everybody is proud of artists, of creation, and everybody wants to enforce and to join and to listen what you have to say, and is curious about this. And I think this is a spirit what makes artists and creative persons very comfortable in Cuba, because they don't have to, as it's not about money there, because there is no money there. So it's not about how much you earn or how much value this creation is in economic sense. This is what it gives to the people, how you reach the people. And I think this is why it makes kind of, it's a difficult country in things of working out some terms, and you don't have that, but you don't have to explain what you want to do. You just, I want to do something. Okay, start with it. You don't have to go further. And this, I think, this ambient helps a project like this, because I can't imagine to do this in the same way with all the facilities, for example, in Spain or in Germany. It will not work, because you go outside and you don't have the spirit. You only have it, you can create it in the studio, but not yet, like everybody says, you feel it outside. It's a society that moves with music. It's a society with everybody is proud of a family member who is artist, or even a neighborhood kid who is now an artist, and the whole society, then the whole neighborhood is proud of it. So this makes it really, I think this is one easy connection for people, and this openness.
Yeah, Vivian, do you have plans to use this music to continue to unite musicians and artists in the United States and Cuba in the future?
Ray and I have plans to do this around the world. There's a part of the film where Ray talks about his vision, where he could see 2 beats, 1 soul, Africa, 2 beats, 1 soul, Brazil. My response was, as long as there's a beach, I'm there. and I actually do mean that, right, Billy?
Yeah.
But the experience of, it was not only, it was 2 cultures, but we also had 2 generations. Like, we had a young hip hop artist, and then we had revered musicians who had been there, you know, for years. And so it was generational, excuse me, it was cross-cultural, it was cross-language, you know. We think that we can take that concept around the world. I'm sure we have more work to do in Cuba once we are allowed to go back. We made many friends. Scratch that, we gained so much family. That's what we got. You know, Billy talks about, I was there 6 times. I literally have one thing from each trip that someone, I would say, that's a beautiful necklace. There. Scarves, rings, just anything. They were just so giving. And I cherish those things more than anything that I have spent a lot of money for. Those are things from the heart. Those are things that I'll never, ever forget.
That's great. That's great. I know that one of the things, and I wanted just to ask a question, because having seen in this Cine Latino, there's been these Cuban films, you know, The Defiant Soul, and this film, and you know, Vidado is the name of the other film, you know, Vidado. African culture is there. There's obviously, I don't know if there's a racial issue in that country. I mean, it's obviously probably not even close to what it is like here, but did you feel any of that while you guys were there?
I didn't. It was like, it's just like in Jamaica, you know, you have Jamaicans who look like Antonio, but they call themselves Jamaicans. Everybody's a Jamaican. Everybody's.
Yeah, right.
I didn't feel that. I don't know about anybody else, but I definitely did not feel that.
No, I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that when you live there, that there are things that you probably experience. But for me, I'm seeing, you know, kids of every shade playing together, and the energy that I felt from people, it was very much of we're all people, we're all here, we're Cuban, and I didn't really feel, you know, I didn't feel that kind of different thing based on skin color or skin complexion at all.
yeah, I mean, when I was recording with, you know, with the artists that I was recording with, I basically, remind me again of who the artist, I don't want to say his name wrong, Viv.
With Menelito?
What the artist that I recorded with, that said the spoken word at the beginning of
Amaray, Ricardo Amaray.
okay.
Oh, Ricardo, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes, Ricardo, how can we forget Ricardo?
Yeah, him and I had such a great vibe, you know, going back and forth. We were speaking, and I don't know if he understood. All I know is that he spoke on the record in such a, you know, a perfect way for the record. I knew he understood. And so, you know, and there were certain keywords that stuck out to me that I was like, oh yeah, that, and it's so phonetically worked perfectly, like, and just the way that it's so the beauty of the language itself is so beautiful, just the sound of it. But let alone that it makes sense in terms of that we were able to communicate in such a way that it was more of a human, you know, common sense, and just the you know, the language of rhythm, the language of melody, and the language of us just kind of just vibing together with a simple smile and a head nod, you know. So that's really essentially. You asked me what I'm going to take away from it. That's what I want to change my answer to that right there.
This is not a test, John B. You can have more than one answer.
Yeah, that's what I'm taking away with, you know, is that moment right there, you know.
You know, I think why that camaraderie happened also, Craig, was that it wasn't just everybody recording together. We eat together. We went dancing together. We experienced each other. We fellowshipped with each other. And I think that's what really brought a lot of the uniqueness, and also just, it was so genuine. It was just a genuine love that poured out into some notes.
Yeah,
And
I just think
the performance too, with the giant orchestra that Ray put together, and with Antonio, and you know, all of the people who got together. This was such an amazing place that we had the opportunity to perform in. This amazing hall that we played in was one of the most amazing places I've ever performed in my entire life. There was almost these giant cloud archway, sort of like balcony, you know, seats. The whole thing was this giant cathedral-like, you know, almost opera house almost, or theater house. And just the acoustics of the place was incredible. There was a full orchestra, full, you know, just, so, I mean, yeah, that's we don't want to miss that part too, as well as that live performance.
Yeah,
so.
I think that was a really, and I know hopefully in the future there could be something that could be done in the States, you know, to bring that, put it out on the road so that it's got, so people really feel that, because again, it's I just think it's so genuine, so honest. Yeah, I just think it's incredible, you know, and it's what needs to be heard. I know the record's out there, but the record is one thing, you know. Billy, you got a question, actually. You got a fan out there. He said, Billy Russo, the amazing video director, he's seen his name since he was a little lamb, you know. So Talia is her name. So she's like, you got people out there that pay attention to you, you know. I wanted to, one final question here. I just kind of want to get, is this a possibility, you know, besides selling the records, to actually get these people to do something, if once we get past this lockdown and this pandemic and get into a whole nother world, which we hope will happen soon, to bring these people together do you think is something that you guys can try to do?
I'll let
I'd like to do.
Antonio speak on that because we
Yeah.
definitely tried to do that, which is also in the film and
Yeah.
obstacles that we ran against. But Antonio?
Well, I think after recording with so many different artists, the challenge, and this was a feeling we had after the recording, is that we have to present it on live. We have to do it live. We have to do a concert of it. So this was just also to close the structure of the project, really to make it complete. And the intention of setting up and how we set it up with the one orchestra, really, and then the lead artist coming in, just performing with the Spaces orchestra, was also the intention to think about to really tour it, to present it internationally, because it's a so unique idea and so a unique sound, and it is really a unique creation. But the obstacles were high, are high, now double and triple. But of course, it's nothing. It's a timeless work, so it's not depending on what we did 3 years ago. So it's. I think it would be worth to work it and to really to present it.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I think it is timeless. I mean, again, this too shall pass. So we got to keep hope alive here. And it's just a matter of doing that, because again, I think it's such a genuine, really organic sound and feel that you guys had in this film and can take out into the world. Louie, before we get out of here, can people outside of New York hear your podcast, or I go to your site?
Yeah, I have a stream live show. It happens on Mondays and Wednesdays from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. New York time. And if you just follow me at twitch.tv/Louie Vega, that's it. I'm on worldwidefm.net, which is Charles Peterson's radio station for the past 3 years. And I've been doing it live from right here since April 20th, over 100 shows. Yeah,
it's great. And John B's not seen any of them, so we got to get John B there. So yeah, I call it
every Monday and Wednesday, because we're on the West Coast right now. That's how I start my day. 10 a.m. I'm dancing with Louie in the kitchen.
Yeah. Right. So, John B, what are you up to?
I am working on my album, finishing that up. I have 2 singles right now that I have been, basically promoting those. And one of them is called Understand, featuring Donnell Jones. And one of them is called Priceless. And both have videos. And I'm just kind of like doing what I can right now for the people, be it right now virtually, as far as I have a live stream performance that I do. It's called the Vibes Elect Cafe. And yeah, you can check out all the information at johnbworld.com, or you can John B, official John B is my social media. And yeah, it's just, it's been a beautiful thing to at least do that. Live wise, it's kind of been the best things, next to playing out, and actually doing shows. We've got a great thing going now. So
this is a hard time for musicians. I did week before last. I did something with Ray, with Ron Carter and some other musicians. And Ron Carter has been playing for 60 years. This is the first time in his life he's not played. It's incredible. I mean, he's like,
it happened. I'm doing this thing every Friday. It's not every Friday. We were doing that once every Friday, but now we're doing it once a month. And it's 6 p.m. Pacific and 9 p.m. Eastern. And it's about really just reconnecting with my fans, with my music, and just allowing this time to be, what it is. If you're at home and you need some good music and some good vibrations, I'm here to give it to you. So
yeah, we need good music. So Billy, if you can talk about what you can talk about, Billy, because you're the man now. So
yeah.
So what you up to?
We all are. I'm currently executive producing the new season of Black Lightning. It's based on a DC comic, and it's in its 4th season. And I'm very, very excited. As people that know me really well would know that I'm a big comic book nerd. I have 5,000 comic books in my collection, all in little plastic bags with the cardboard on them. So very excited to be here doing this.
Cool. Antonio, what you up to next?
Well, I heard that Cuba, Havana will open again in end of November for people because it's closed, a complete island. So, and I left it in March, so it's 8 months, never been so long distance from the island. So just to record and to produce and to continue the work there. So that's what I'm looking for.
So Vivian, my lady, what's happening with you now next?
Well, Ray and I doing projects together always. You know, he's busy doing Dancing with the Stars. He's got a new TV show on Fox called I Can See Your Voice, and he's prepping for the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. There will be a parade. Unfortunately, there will not be anybody allowed to be on the parade route, but you will still be able to, you know, turn on your TV and see it. So he's doing all that stuff. I am really focusing on our foundation. We have a foundation called Power to Inspire. And we created it to support young people who aspire to be in the music industry. Ray handles the kids that want to be creative. I'm the behind the scenes kids. A lot of them are watching this right now. I'm so proud of them. We put them through a 4-week virtual mentee intern program in August, and we had 75 mentors from around the world. John B. graced us. Louie, because he's so busy, we couldn't lock him in, but I'm getting you on the next one, Louie. And it was just amazing. You know, these kids inspired us. And so we're taking that and we're broadening it and giving out scholarships and just doing this is a real time of reflection of doing what's really, for me personally, what's important and what's going to be a part of my legacy. So this is part of our legacy building.
That's great. It's great. And unfortunately, Ray couldn't be with us in time. I said, hey, you know, I think I want to thank you guys for being part of this conversation. I really encourage people to see this film, Two Beats, One Soul. I think that this is probably a good launch for this Cuban Day, along with the Defiant Soul and Viva Vidado, which I keep screwing up that thing, and the name, even though I think it's great. I really think that you guys did an important film here, and hopefully this is the first film in a series that can be continued. I think, you know, bringing some Latin music to Africa might be an interesting approach. We'll see how they do with that. And I think that this is something that, Vivian, I'm really proud of you, and I'm really proud. Billy's gone. He said he got shit to do, so he took off.
He's in pre-production.
He's in pre-production. I know he is. He didn't even say goodbye, but that's okay. You know. But I really want to thank you guys for doing this, and I really appreciate it. So take care, have a good night, and God bless you all.